Power Punchers, we are live. It's 2022, D-Style. 2022. How you feeling going into this new year?
I'm feeling great. Going into this new year. You know what I mean? Can't wait, man. Can't wait. I already started with a knockout of the year, knocking out COVID. So I'm in a roll right now. You know what I mean? 1-0. What's up?
And look, you had a nice knockout. Luis Ortiz had a nice knockout. The referee was like, "Where's the referee? Where's the referee?" It took him forever on that stoppage. And look, we can bounce straight into this. Look, Luis Ortiz was the power puncher of the week. There wasn't much to choose from, but that referee, and you said it to me off air through text, there has to be some sort of reflex test for referees because that guy took forever to stop that fight.
Dude, like this problem has been around since Apollo versus Drago. We know what happened there. You know what I mean? So we can't allow this shit to happen, bro. You know what I mean? Look, this is what I'll say. Referees, and in all seriousness, should have some type of reflex test, so they could stop fights. You know what I mean? Like these are people's lives on the line. Like this is not like what happened to Frank Mir against Pulev should not happen. Like there's no reason that this should be out like this. Like looking like the fatality moment in Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That shouldn't happen. There's no reason Ortiz should be knocking this dude out, Martin, on his feet, waking him back up with another punch, knocking him out again, waking him back up with another punch, and then handcuffing him on the ropes, okay, as he walks away in his freaking, like he beat him up like he stole something, bro. Like first of all, Ortiz had were those boxing trunks or like boxers, like dad boxers, you know what I mean? That's what he had on, like he beat up the thief to try to steal something from his house, handcuffed him, and that's what you got. But look, refs, please, they need some type of reflex test, bro. Like they
know what it was like? It was like you hit the snooze button in the morning. That's what it was like. Yeah. Like Luis Ortiz kept knocking him out, waking him up, knocking him out, waking him up. It's just a snooze button. Snooze button. He didn't know where he was. Like he was just out on his feet, and the referee is just kind of looking, kind of staring.
Dude, he knocked him out into like a moment of like peace. Remember when Thanos like fucked up half the universe, and then he went to his planet of peace, and he was just kind of like just happy right there. You know what I mean? Like that's where Martin was. He was in this moment of like peace. Like he was knocked out, and he's like, and then he gets woken up into a nightmare. You know what I mean? With this dude like knocking him out over and over again. I still can't get over the fact that this dude trapped his hand on the ropes. I just don't know how that happened. I know that was some move that like Ortiz put on him. He's been on this earth for like 100 years. He's learned a thing or two.
Yeah, they said he was training with Jack Johnson back in the day. Yeah. Luis Ortiz. And look, shout out to everybody in the chat. G Funky, VQ Chris, El Guapo Legendario Casanova, Steven 4722, Danny Ramirez, Steven 4722, Danny Ramirez again, Chicano Prophet in the building as well. Make sure to check out his channel as well. And El Chile, the whole fam, all of HCP. Check all of them out. And hit that like button. Make sure you hit the like button and make sure you vote on that poll. Will Canelo Alvarez be Fighter of the Year in 2022? I already know what my answer is. I can only think of one guy, possibly two.
We'll talk about that later. I think he's going to have some competition. I really do.
Okay. You want to jump straight into that?
Sure. All right. So, Canelo says he's going to fight 3 times, right? Which definitely makes him an odds-on favorite. Like if he really does fight 3 times. Mm-hmm. So he could become a 5 division champion by beating that dude at cruiserweight, right? Mm-hmm. And then if he comes back down and like unifies 175, like if he fights Beterbiev and Bivol or like the other dude, I forget his name, the hardworking man. What's his name again?
Oh, the hardworking man. What? God, how is his name?
Smith. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Joe Smith.
I keep thinking it's not Smith because
Joe Smith Jr.
Yeah, because of the other dudes that are Smith too. Like Callum Smith. But yeah, Joe Smith Jr. He has a shot, but it just depends. Like, what if, like, is winning the title at cruiserweight against the arguably the weak link champion at cruiserweight, right? And which I'm still impressed by that. Don't get me wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we got to put in perspective, right? Is that and like Joe Smith Jr. and a tune-up good enough? Like, do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got like for the guys I'm thinking about, like he's got to do he's got to do like Better Beeve, Bivol, Joe Smith, those three guys become undisputed 175, and it's his, like back to back. Now the other way you could still win it, but man, I think Usyk with another win over Joshua or vice versa is a statement. All right, and if Usyk, let me tell you something, Calix, if Usyk beats Joshua in a rematch and then defeats Tyson Fury for undisputed, or if Tyson Fury beats Dillian White and then beats the winner of Usyk AJ for undisputed, I mean, Canelo's going to have to work for it. He's going to have to do something big to beat that out. You know what I mean? Josh Taylor, if he does a rematch with like a Prograis or moves up to welterweight and has a big win against one of those top dudes, we have to think about those things.
Well,
Like, yeah,
let me start here. The guy I was thinking about, you mentioned Usyk. He's got a great shot, obviously. He's got a great shot at beating Anthony Joshua. And if he wins that fight, that sets up all the marbles for the Tyson Fury fight. So he pulls that off. It's going to be tough to beat him. Anybody. It's going to be tough to beat him.
look, if Usyk beats Joshua and Fury, that's it. He's fight of the year.
Yeah.
Like,
I just don't see anybody else that would be able to pull that off, beat that. Another guy to mention, in a way, if he were to somehow become undisputed at 118
yeah,
in 2022, you got to throw his name out there. He's a guy at the top of the pound for pound ranking somewhere. If Errol Spence Jr. fights in April and beats Ugas, and then somehow the Crawford fight happens later in the year, you would throw his name out there if he were able to pull that off,
what
which
about
is
Uga?
highly unlikely for many reasons. Mainly because I don't see him beating Crawford, but also because I don't see the Crawford fighting happening in 2022. Here's the big obstacle, in my opinion, for a lot of fighters. And we can bounce back and forth between these two topics because I still want to talk about Canelo. Chronic inactivity for fighters. Chronic inactivity. And I'm going to throw out some stats for you.
Man. Chronic.
There is a pandemic of one fight per year fighters in boxing today. A pandemic. It's spreading. It is spreading.
That's considered active nowadays. Like,
Once per year.
Man.
I would argue, and I saw people, and I put out a video when I saw this, people throwing Usyk's name out there for fighter of the year. How do you get fighter of the year when you fight once per year? Now, I know you have a theory on fighter of the year not being as important as another award, but before we get to that, let me throw out some stats for you. I took the top 20 pound for pound fighters according to BoxRec just because it was easy, because a lot of people aren't going to agree with BoxRec's rankings, and I don't. I think they're terrible. I think their pound for pound rankings are terrible. They have an algorithm that they use that they stick to. It's rigid, and it's a mess. Okay, but I'm just using this. And by the way, you can use rings, you can use ESPNs. It's going to come out to the same.
All
basically.
the above, yeah.
It's going to come out to the same. All right, so let me give you some of these stats. Top 20 pound for pound according to BoxRec, and how many times these guys have fought last year in 2021. And that's Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., our senior.
Oh,
senior.
whoa. Like, look at this.
You didn't get the junior one for Christmas?
Nah.
That's not. Oh, that's nice too. That's nice.
Like
All
Tyson,
right, so
of course, Ali. Everybody's seen that one, right? So
Canelo, number one, fought 3 times. So good for
mm.
Canelo. Good for Canelo. That's an oddity. 3 times in a year today is like you're an alien. Okay, but here's where it starts to get ugly. Terrence Crawford fought 1 time.
Mhm.
Usyk 1 time. Fury 1 time. Anthony Joshua fought once.
Man,
Bradis fought once.
damn.
Wilder fought once. Callum Smith fought once. Ugas once. Josh Taylor fought once. You don't get till number 11. Beterbiev fought twice. Fought twice. That's very active in today's day and age, apparently. But then you go back to Estrada, fought once. Valdez, once. No, actually,
Mm.
Valdez fought twice, right? Oscar Valdez fought twice.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Twice.
okay, so he fought twice. Prograis fought once. Dillian White, once.
And by the way,
Jose
Progress fought
Zepeda,
like for like 3 rounds.
right. Zepeda fought twice. Chocolatito once. Inoue twice. 154 Charlo fought once. And
Mhm.
Castano fought twice. That's a total, the
Yeah.
top 20 pound for pound, according to BoxRec, that's a total of 27 fights between 20 fighters.
Man,
That's chronic inactivity. You
chronic.
only have 6 fighters in the top 20 pound for pound who fought more than once. 14 of the top 20 fought once.
Damn.
You cannot have that and have a sustainable sport that grows future stars. You can't become a star if you're fighting once a year. And a lot of these guys throw out Mayweather. He fought once a year. They missed the first half of the Mayweather book.
Plus, he was actually fighting twice a year for a while, right?
Correct.
Like what? You know? Yeah.
Once a year. And then you can go on. You can go stretch it to top 25, top 30. And by the way, you can use whatever rankings you want. If you want to use ESPN's or rings, you got Tiafimo, you got Cambosos, both
You
fought once
could
a year.
use new media's top 10 if you
You
want.
can
You know
use,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like you can
any of them.
use like anybody. Like the point still stands. They're not that active. I mean, I saw some lists that still have Gary Russell on the list. Okay, this dude hasn't fought since like we were in high school or some shit. You know what the fuck? I don't know, but he's still on the list. You know?
But that's where we're at. So when I talk about the state of boxing today, as fun as 2021 was in spots, it's still not a good spot because that we're in, because how do you grow? We've always been able to recycle that new star, right? Like
Right. Right.
before Canelo, it was Mayweather and Pacquiao who handed them the torch, and it kind of overlapped. Before
Yeah.
them, it was Oscar who handed them the torch. And then when Oscar was fighting, you had multiple stars. I mean, you had Prince Nassim Hamed, Mike Tyson, among others.
But they were
Before that,
active.
right? Before
Yeah.
that, you had guys like Sugar Ray Leonard and Chavez. You always had guys. How
Dude,
do
this
you
dude
get?
fought every 6 weeks. This dude
Yes,
fought like like this dude. And here's I'm glad you brought up these points, Calix, because you know how sick and tired I get of fans that like go to BoxRec and they just nitpick like Chavez, like the very active guys like Chavez, Sugar Ray Robinson. Oh wait, look, he fought a guy that was 2-13.
hmm
You know, this one time. Yeah, in between like 2 title fights, like chill out. You know what I mean? Like, but they were active. Like that would be a problem. That was Chavez's only fight in like the whole year. You know, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like he fought like 4 weeks later. Like relax, right? That's the problem. Like the fact that Mayweather fought a dude that was 0-0 in his 50th fight, and that was his only fight that year, right? It's a problem. Like, you know, that's why it sticks out. Like, he didn't fight Conor McGregor in between, you know, Pacquiao and Canelo or something. Like, you know, no, like we got to put that in perspective.
That's the thing. And I was about to say
Yeah.
that word perspective. There's no perspective there. They'll nitpick these certain fights that these guys fought. And what they're
Mhm.
missing is when you're fighting that many times in a year, you can't hit a home run every single fight. So if you're
Right.
fighting once per year, as somebody put out in the chat, you can't fight Montiel. You gotta hit a home run if you're fighting. You can't hit singles. You gotta hit a home run every single time if you're fighting once a year. Have to.
You
Really,
can't do
twice a year.
this with the bat. Like, you know what I mean? Once a year, you do this and then run for
Right.
first base? Nah,
Taking a
bro, that ain't
bunt.
good enough. Get the fuck out of here. You better swing. You know what I mean? But no, I agree with you. Look, it is true that, and by the way, people are going to blame this on the pandemic and like all this other stuff. Like, these guys have been practicing social distancing before the pandemic. You know, like,
Right.
bro, I don't even know how boxing got canceled with how much social distancing they've been doing. Like, boxers should have had this shit down. Out of all the sports, right? Boxing should have been the most ready,
Right.
right? Like, for the pandemic. Like, you only got to do it once a year. You had one job, one fight a year, and you motherfuckers can't stay away from COVID like once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't be sick all year. You know, like, that's not how the virus works, right? So what's going on over here? These guys have a fight once a year and they're catching COVID, like on the lead up to the fight. Just think about that. That's insane.
And really, we've been conditioned so bad as fans and beat down so bad that a guy fights twice a year and we're ecstatic. And really, if you're fighting twice a year, you need to hit a home run both times too. But we're not. And if a guy fights twice a year, we're like, oh, he's fighting twice a year, so he deserves a tune-up to that second fight. No, that's
Yeah,
not
but
how we should
you know
be
what, Calix?
behaving as
Like,
boxing fans. And the disturbing pattern that I'm seeing is I do see some content creators on YouTube. I've seen them the past couple of days saying that we're complaining too much as fight fans, and um, just nonsense like that.
hey, I mean, what are we supposed to be doing? Like,
Are we supposed to be happy?
we're supposed to just take it. You know, if you go to a restaurant, Calix, you ask for a steak, and they give you chicken. Hey, just praise them, tip them. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't complain.
And we're not guys that complain all the time just for complaining. We give credit where it's due.
Man, this sport should be thankful it even has fans at this point. Okay, but the way it treats its fans, the fact that we still exist is like, bro. Like, I honestly think, you know, we're like unicorns. Like, you know, like, I think people look at us like, man, these guys are really devoted. You know, like, this sport keeps giving them the middle finger and like they stick around. You know, like, people look at us like battered wives. You know, it's I think that's how people on the outside looking in look at us. You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
man, boxing doesn't really give a fuck about these guys. You know, like, but I want to, like, what do you make of the people? It's kind of related to this that are saying things like, I don't think Canelo should be fight of the year. I mean, he fought Yildirim. Come on, he fought Yildirim. Like, what do you make of that?
Well, once again, perspective and also competition. So, who is his biggest competition for fighter of the year? Usyk. He fought once.
Usyk and Josh Taylor, and you're right, they only fought once.
So, in my opinion, fighting once disqualifies you from fighter of the year, not from performance of the year,
Man,
but for fighter of the year.
yeah, but
It
like fighting once is
disqualifies.
normal, though, right?
I know, but still, I can't, as a fight fan, I can't reward that because I know if I do, guess what? We're going to see more fighters fight once a year. They're going to be conditioned
Right.
by the fans to think that's okay, and it's not. It's not okay to fight once in a year. It's not. It's just not. And the fact
What
that I
about
just named
once every 2 years, like Gary Russell? No.
also not okay.
Okay, probably
Also
worse,
not
right?
okay. But the fact that I just named the top 20 guys and 14 out of the 20 fought once in the year is a problem.
It is.
It's a problem. How do you plan on recycling another star? Man, how do you plan on doing that? Who's going to be the guy
Well, what you
outside of
do is,
Canelo's going to fight, dude, and we have time because Canelo's going to fight, he says, 5 to 6 more years. So we have time to find that guy. And boxing history tells us that we're going to find that guy. And we're going to find possibly 2 or 3 guys. But what I'm saying is this is unprecedented what I just named. I don't remember a time in boxing history since I've been following, at least in modern boxing history, where 14 out of the top 20 guys fought once in a year.
No, you're right.
So
Like we used to
how do we
complain, remember?
produce
Like,
that guy then?
twice a year, that's it. Like I remember that used to be like our punchline. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like once a year. But I will say this though, a lot of the guys you mentioned, like Josh Taylor, Usyk, uh, I mean, you name them. I mean, obviously Canelo, but Jose Ramirez. I mean, he was on the losing end, but he's still a top fighter, 140. Jose Zepedas of the world. All these different fighters, man. Outside of the PBC, especially, they're not once a year fighters. You know,
True.
I just think a lot of things did happen. There was a lot of postponements, and it kind of just fell that way. But I feel like, look, the fact that Gary Russell's back, this January, is a good sign, I think. You know what I mean? If Gary Russell got a fight, that means if he's fighting, then we're projected to get these guys fighting 3 times a year.
So what you're saying is, if we see Gary Russell Jr.'s shadow before Groundhog Day, then it's a good sign that we're going to see a lot of
Yeah,
two fights per year fighters. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, because he was fighting 0.1348 times a year, and now he's going to fight once a year, right? Just think about how that equates to the rest of the sport. Like, man, Canelo might fight 10 times. Like you never know. But I will say this: like, I think some people might say this, and it's a fair point, right? The point is, look, guys, look at all the pugilistic dementia, the brain damage boxing has caused. So that's why I'm okay with guys not fighting like once a month. Like, you know what I mean? Like we don't need best out of 7 like freaking Robinson and Lamada did in 2 months. Like we don't need them to do that. You know what I mean? The sport has lowered the amount of rounds. The sport has become a little safer, right? And I think 3 times, give us 3 fights, and you're good. Like that's it. And plus, I do believe, not that they've done a lot of studies on this, but if fighters stay active, right, there's a balance to it. They become better at taking punches and having punch resistance, and their bodies adjust better to it, right? That's why Chavez said he stayed active, because he wanted his body to adjust to that. You look at him now, even in Lamada, like those guys were great at a later age,
Mm-hmm.
So if you stay out of the ring too long, like you're gonna get buzzed a little more every time you fight, and that's not a good thing, So
It's not, and we're not. I don't think we're being irrational. Like, I understand everything that people are saying with fighter safety and it being a new era. We're not asking fighters to fight 6 times in a year. It's not what we're doing. There has to be a happy medium
yeah,
between between promoter, manager, fighter, promoter, manager, fighter, network, and fan.
right.
And it
Plus,
seems like
plus like
these 3 over here are doing fine, but this fan, I get confused with the camera. The fans over here, we're
right.
not. We're not doing okay. What's in it for us? And we're going to see more people leave this and go over here and go do something else unless we start to get something over here. Because everybody else is happy in this equation. Everybody else is doing fine. It's the fan. What are we getting? Not enough.
It's not a
It's
good thing
not
when the fans not
sustainable.
winning, and I agree. We've got to find a happy medium. And the argument is always, oh, but there's safety. Then maybe they should find another profession if they're worried about getting hit. I mean, like you picked the wrong profession.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to get hit, okay. Like go figure skate, or like go do something else. You know what I
It's
mean? Like I don't
boxing,
know.
man. Same thing I say with football. It's football. It's boxing. You're going to get hit.
Yeah,
Um, but as fans, we're willing to give, right? As rational fans, we're able to give, right? And say, we don't expect you to be the gladiators from a century ago, from 50 years ago. We don't
Right.
expect that. We want you to have happy lives with your family after. But at the same time, if we're going to stick around, we need something more sustainable than all you guys fighting once a year. And when you do fight once a year, you're not hitting the home run that we expect. You're hitting a single.
Yeah.
Or unless Tiafimo, in Tiafimo's case, you struck out, which
I
happens
also
too.
think like the other chronic case we have is, a lot of these fighters, man, are getting paid a lot of money for like gimme fights or like showcase fights, like fights that they're going to easily win, right? And I could point to a lot of examples, right? And it doesn't help. Yeah, okay, the fighters are getting paid. Yeah, the managers are doing a great job because they're getting their fighters some easy pickings, right? But what happens is if a guy's making a cool million to fight a nobody, right? And then you expect him to fight a killer for 1.2 million, you think they're going to do it? No, right? Like there used to be like a thing where the bigger the risk you took, right, the more money you got for it. That used to that's the essence to me of prize fighting. Well, what makes it great, that the higher the stakes, the more you get paid. But unfortunately, we live in a, I hate to say it, but Mayweather popularized it, like made it popular. The whole like work smarter, not harder. I could appreciate working harder. I mean, smarter, not harder, like the saying, right? But that saying doesn't mean don't work hard. That's not what that means. It means don't do unnecessary work. Okay, like in construction, like hey, use your head, brother. Like you know what I mean. You don't have to lift all those pallets by yourself. You could use a forklift, for example. Right? Work smarter, not harder. Right? But I feel like the work smarter, not harder, which comes from people with work ethic. So I know where that saying, like
Right.
I grew up with that saying. It comes from people with work ethic. It still means work. It still means work hard, right? But somehow it's turned into uh, hustling people. That's what the saying has become all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Robbing the bank.
Yeah, robbing
Okay.
the bank, hustling, work smarter, not harder. Yeah, robbing a bank is illegal. Okay, like that's the cheap way to make money. That's robbing people. That's hustling people, right? Boxing fans were getting hustled, man, for the most part, right? And people are just letting it be like, wow, he's working smarter, not harder. Nice, hustling you. That's what that is. All right. At the end of the day, that it doesn't mean pretend you're giving me a great fight and sell it as a great fight when it really isn't because you're going to work smarter, not harder. That's not what that means. Okay, that one goes to tank.
Yeah. And hit that like button, by the way. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And I'll get to some of these comments in a minute. But I wanted to hit on one other thing because I feel like there's one other aspect of this that we've missed, and it's sustainability. And you also have to worry about the next generation coming up.
Yeah.
You have to worry about this is your sport. You have to worry about 20 years from now as a fighter and keeping this sport alive. Because there were people that came before you who, if they didn't do what they did, you wouldn't be making the millions that you make. Boxing sort of has the opposite problem of the UFC. UFC is great. I always talk to their fans. I'm surrounded by them in South Louisiana, and they always seem to be happy. They always seem to be happy with the fights that they get for the most part, and excited
Mhm.
about the fights that they're going to get. But they
Right.
sort of have the opposite problem where is it sustainable when you're not paying your fighters well at all? And the UFC doesn't seem to be paying their fighters what they're worth. Boxing sort of has the opposite problem where the fans are not happy and the fighters are being paid too much, and it's now a broken system.
Yeah, it's not
And
sustainable, and that it's gonna feel like I'm picking on Devin Haney, and I'm really not, right? But let's be honest, Devin Haney does not generate the $4 million that they pay him. Okay,
no, not
he
yet.
doesn't. So it's not warranted. It just doesn't feel warranted that when he's out here bragging and he's telling Tank like, I made more than you at the age of 21, and like first of all, I don't even know why they're like. I miss the days when boxers were saying, I'm gonna knock you the fuck out if you get in the ring with me or something like that. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Then like, oh, I make more money than you, I own more cars than you, and I have more Twitter followers than you, and all this other shit. I don't care about that. But that's it is what it is. But
This is
what do you do?
another thing here. I've seen some people leaving comments about the pay-per-view issue, and I was going to hit on
Mm-hmm.
that too. Pay-per-view, people being pay-per-view weary, and I'm one of them. Way too many pay-per-views in 2021, and it seems like PBC is having issues with their budget, and they're going to have a lot of pay-per-views in 2022, starting off
Right.
anyway. Thurman versus Barrios, and you're going to have Spence versus Ugas on a
Jesus fucking
pay-per-view. You
Christ.
have way too many pay-per-views already going into 2022. So that's another issue. So what do you do as a boxing fan? Do you continue to buy this because you're a boxing fan and you want to see the fights? Or
Well, Kellex, nobody's buying these pay-per-views.
true.
Like, I don't know how many times, like, and I think that's a good thing, by the way. You know, because money's fight night, bro. Like people only have so much money, right, to support something. And it doesn't have to be like it's the end of your funds. It could just be the end of your road. Like that's as much as I'm going to spend on boxing because I have other shit to pay and worry about. You know what I mean? And Thurman Barrios on pay-per-view. Like Thurman, the dude that's both of them are coming off losses, by the way, right? Just think about that. They're both coming off losses. One's been inactive like for over 2 years, right? And one just lost to a lightweight, all right, who couldn't knock out Cruz. So we have to wonder about Mario Barrios's punch resistance, right? Like what? That's pay-per-view. That's pay-per-view. Like what is this? And I'm just tired of like what's with the fan that should be joining us, right? Fighting us about this. Like, no, like, come on, it's only $50. Like what? So what? It doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's only $50. Like,
And I'm
okay.
sure a lot of those people may be streaming it.
Yeah.
And it's their loyalty to they're tribal, so it's a loyalty to a certain promoter or manager or fighter, and they want to brag about the numbers for whatever reason, which I don't understand. I don't remember ever being a huge Cotto fan, ever worried about Cotto's pay-per-view numbers. I didn't care where he fought. I just didn't. I just wanted to see him win. I didn't care if he fought on paper, what his pay-per-view number, whether he was a B side or A side. I just wanted the fight made and win the fight. I don't understand treating somebody else's pocketbook like it's mine. I don't get any more money if Cotto gets 2 million plus from pay-per-view buys. It doesn't do anything for me. I don't get that part of it.
Well, I don't even understand the obsession of the boxing fan with pay-per-view. Like, boxing fans swear, bro. Like, they swear that in order to prove that, in order for the sport to be popular, which, again, it's one of those, like, I'm okay with boxing being a niche sport. I don't know about you. I'm okay with it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just okay with it. But for some reason, boxing fans have an obsession with wanting the sport to be big and popular, right? And they have an upset, and they seem to believe that having it on pay-per-view will keeps it popular or something, like makes it popular, right? But that's not how it works. Like that makes no sense. Like the way you grow the sport is by exposing the sport to people. That's how you grow the sport, right? A pay-per-view is going to naturally come when the world wants to see two fighters fight, and they're since people are willing to pay for it, then a promoter will put it on pay-per-view. Okay? It will organically happen. That's the way it is. But
And
you
when it
know,
organically happens, people know it and people buy it
People know
instinctively.
what people bought it. Like, come on, late '90s, everybody, like, come on, everybody wanted to see Trinidad De Loya. Everybody wanted to see that fight, and
Yeah.
we knew it was going to be on pay per view, like, and we were okay with that, right? Why? Because everybody wanted to watch it, you know. Now we weren't out here like I don't remember anybody saying, "Oh, I hope they put it on pay per view." Like that's not how pay per view works. You shouldn't want it to be on pay per view. Like you know what I mean? It's just gonna be because it's gonna make money that way. You know.
And a lot of times, especially for me, it's not an economic issue. I mean, you have people who have money who just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to keep supporting this.
Like
I,
Kellex,
I
like
don't want to buy this pay per view. I'm not
if
buying Thurman versus Barrios. I'm not doing it.
it's like this, right? Just because you have a lot of money in the bank account doesn't mean you're gonna flush $20 down the toilet,
No.
right? Like I'm not gonna spend money on something I don't want to watch or that I didn't ask for that I just don't feel is worth buying. You know, that's it. Like Ortiz, the Ortiz fight should have been on regular TV. That's it.
Yeah, it
Regular
should have.
boxing on New Year's Day. It might have gotten 3-4 million just like it did on Christmas. You know,
And if two fighters coming off of losses want to fight each other, I have no issue with that. But why is it on pay per view?
it's on paper, man. You
It's
know?
on pay per view. No, not doing it.
And somebody might say, "Oh, it's because Thurman's a former welterweight champion. He commands a lot of money." You know what I mean? Okay, well, I could do without seeing Thurman again. Like, I'll be okay. You know what I mean?
I'm not watching Luis Ortiz on pay per view. I'm not watching Tank Davis fight Pitbull Cruz on pay per view. And then
But
it comes, and then there's the added issue of even if it's a good fight on paper,
mhm.
but it's not the fight that you wanted for that fighter. Do you buy it or do you boycott it? Because I've seen
Oh
videos about
man,
this, about do I buy Spence versus Ugas because it's not the fight we wanted. I like Spence versus Ugas, but I agree it's not the fight I wanted. So what do you do with that too? There's that added little wrench in it as well. So there are a lot of moving parts here, but what it all comes down to, the common denominator here is the fan not getting what they want. And the part that bothers me, there are several parts of this that bother me. The
mm.
part that bothers me is the fan is supposed to shut up because the fighters are putting their lives at risk. No, that's not how this works. The fans pay for the fighters to make money to fight.
Yo,
You need the fans. That is a key part of this. The fans.
that
So the
that that's
fan
what
has
I'm
to get
talking
something
about.
out of this.
That's the shaming I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like nobody forced. It's gonna sound rough saying it, but nobody forced any of these dudes to fight for a living. Nobody.
Mhm.
If they want to do a regular 9 to 5 like me, they're more than welcome to do it if they want. You know what I mean? Like I don't make the money boxers make because I'm not putting my life on the line like that, right?
Mhm.
Like that's why I don't make that type of money. All right, I'm doing all right, but I'm not doing that type of money. You know what I mean? So like obviously you're gonna get paid because you're a prize fighter, right? But it's just annoying. It's annoying. Just this whole like, well, these fighters put their lives on the line, and you don't even want to fork out $40. I bet you spent more when you went to McDonald's last week, or like I don't know. Like people just throw shit out there, right? What do you care what I spend money on? Well, why does it mean I need to spend money on this? Someone told me that I should look at it like from a Cuban's perspective. I'm like, what? Yeah, look, this event means so much to the Cubans. Like two Cubans headlining and co-headlining, and you're making fun of the event. Like, please
Not my
spend.
problem.
Yeah, they care so much about the Cubans. That's what they're charging them for it, right? They could have given it to them for free, right? But they're going to charge them for the event. Stop. They can't even watch. They can't even buy pay-per-view in Cuba, right? For the Cuban Americans, they could stream it like everybody else, all right?
I think that's my biggest issue with that too, is the fans, because I know what they expect from promoters, managers. I know what they expect from networks. Obviously, I know what they expect now from fighters. They're perfectly happy fighting once a year and still expecting to somehow get in the Hall of Fame fighting once in a year and thinking that that's still good enough for a legacy. So I know what they expect from that triangle. What is frustrating to me as a fan is when you see other fans accept this stuff and say, no, 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 it's okay to fight once a year. No, no, he's okay as fighter of the year if he fought once in a year. He deserves a tune up here. He deserves a tune up there.
Deserves.
They deserve $80 for that fight.
Mm,
That's the part that frustrates me.
it is.
Is you feel like you're getting backstabbed by other fans, and it's just a lot of stuff. It's the pay-per-view weariness. It's the chronic inactivity. That's the main one for me now. Fighters is not fighting more than once in a year. The get
Yep.
to the point aspect of it as well. We talked about the book dragging on and adding chapters where chapters don't need to be added in a book. We don't need rematch clauses in certain cases. We don't need mandatories in certain cases. I don't need a mandatory, and there shouldn't be mandatories needed if Spence beats Ugas or if Ugas beats Spence. Get straight to undisputed. You have all of the belts being shared by two fighters at that point. Get to it. Get to it. Every single division, and we're just talking about the four major sanctioning bodies. We're not talking about all the other one offs. We're talking about the major four.
Right.
If you count those four and you look at the belts in each division, there are 11 major belts, like 11. When you talk
Mm.
about whatever the belts they have, silver belts, diamond belts, belts in recess, all this stuff, 11 per division just for the top four. So even after great fights, even after great fight things are happening, you still have confusion. How is this sustainable? How is it sustainable? All of this. How is it sustainable? How do you keep people in the building?
You really can't. Um, I guess there's a lot of hands in the cookie jar. You know what I mean? That's a problem with boxing. Um, and somebody just said it in the chat, like boxing doesn't care about its fans. You know. But I will say this. I mean, it's good to have a face of boxing that
Yes.
is active.
Thank God for him.
Is pursuing undisputed. Is pursuing to do great things. And I'll tell you right now, Calix, it's like an unpopular thing now to just praise somebody for doing great things.
You know.
People they're just scared of being called a Canelo fanboy or like that's what it is. You know what I mean? They don't want to be labeled a fanboy. They don't want to be labeled like, oh, you're just praising Canelo because no, like just stick to the merits of it. Like everybody knows he's head and shoulders above everybody in his weight class. Okay. Everybody knows he's doing great things when he doesn't have to.
Mm-mm.
Like this dude could fight once a year, right? Swindle you for your money, and there's nothing anybody would do about it. But that's not what he's doing. He's staying active. He's always in the gym. Like I don't know what else they want, but here's the other reality: one guy just isn't enough. You know what I mean? That we need more of it. That we need more guys stepping up and chasing greatness is what we need, right? We need more of these crappy pay-per-views. Like I'm glad to hear that the Tank pay-per-view flopped because that was garbage. Not the fight itself, but the fact that it was on pay-per-view. And what they sold it as. Like, no, that was not a lightweight championship of the world. We know who the lightweight champions are. There's Haney and Cambozes. That's it. Okay? That's it. There's nobody else.
Yep.
No, Tank is not one of the champions. Tank is not a champion in 140, right? And until the things that hurt boxing start failing,
Yeah.
and the things that help boxing start succeeding and starts becoming the norm, then we're going to see everything turn around. And I do think
That's you spot on right there.
yeah. And I'll tell you what, It's the final year for PBC to impress Fox, bro.
Mm-hmm.
They have one more year, and they're starting it off with fucking Thurman Barrios. This is crazy. You know, like, oh, I know how. Oh, we're gonna put this heavyweights on pay-per-view the very first day. I don't know. That was a good idea. But this is the option year of Fox, and they don't like a lot of these PBC fighters, man. I'm telling you, man. There's already rumors that PBC's running out of money. Okay, Al Heyman's been doing shit with other people's money. Like he kind of runs shit like if he's doing it with other people's money. When you think about it,
Yeah.
he really does. Like he looks like a dude that's using other people's money to do shit because it's like, yo, putting Caleb Plant against his nobody and paying him $900,000 is literally doing nothing for anybody. But like, I guess when you do it with other people's money, right? I'm just saying.
Bingo. I'm glad you brought up Canelo and we circled back to him, though, because he is the beacon of light here to focus on the positive, and he is giving these guys a blueprint as to how to carry yourself if you want to be a star. And it helps that he had a big built-in audience to begin with, but he earned keeping those people in the building and then growing himself internationally because he is an international star now. And I expect him to fight in other continents going forward in the future. Maybe not this year. I don't think 2022 is going to be that year for him, but possibly 2023 and on. You'll see this guy fight in the UK, fight in Japan, etc. Because I think he wants to be an international like staple.
Right.
A guy like Michael Jordan or some LeBron James, somebody like that everybody in the world know, a soccer star like a Messi that everybody knows. But he backs it up with his actions. He earns it. He earns that. And he's showing these guys how to do this, a blueprint. And you did mention guys that did have some tough circumstances earlier in the year or in 2021 that probably would have fought twice in the year, who probably do want greatness. So I do leave the door open. And I do think it will happen because boxing history tells us that another star will come along and grab that torch from Canelo. 5 years from now, when Canelo moves on, 6 years from now, when Canelo either moves on or starts to fade away a little bit, his star starts to fade in boxing anyway, there will be another guy there to grab that torch. I have to have that optimism because history tells me that it will happen. So my brain tells me it'll happen, but my heart also tells me that I think it'll be there. I think it will happen. But
Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Well, let me say this. So, do you remember the when PBC first came out and they were all about free fights, free
Yeah, I
fights for
remember that.
everybody? Remember that?
14, 15, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Now they're giving us the fights are not as good, and they're making us pay for it. Isn't that crazy?
I did see that. I did see that somebody shared that on Twitter the other day and said they showed the graphics, they showed the receipts, they showed the commercials of all these stars, the future stars, and it's on network TV, and we're going to grow the sport. And then fast forward to 2022, and we have Thurman versus Barrios on pay-per-view, and Spence versus Ugas on pay-per-view. Pay-per-view, 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 just constant pay-per-views. But I do want to share this and put this up here. What you got going on your community page? What we got going on tomorrow night on your channel?
Well, tomorrow 8CP podcast. Okay, tomorrow. Okay. It's going to be the year-end awards, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And the link is in the posted again right there, so you guys can go vote on the poll. So, and I kind of want your opinion here, Calix. You know what I mean on these two polls. Okay. So let me let me go over them really quick right now. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's see if I can bring it up. So number one, 2021 performance of the year. There's 10 performances. Okay. And I think this is one of the most underrated awards that a lot of websites and magazines and content creators and whatever you want to call it really don't use. And I'm kind of surprised by that. Like, because I think this is a big deal in boxing, how you perform on a night. You know what I mean? Putting on a clinic or whatever it is, right? Overcoming great odds, whatever it is a big part of boxing, right? So we got Usyk defeats AJ for the Unified Heavyweight Championship of the world on the road, right? In London, in his backyard, bro, right? Josh Taylor knocks Ramirez down 2 times to win the 140 undisputed.
Strong one.
Big win, big win. Ugas clearly decisions the legend Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Pacquiao retires right after that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Canelo stops the slippery killer plant to win the 168-pound undisputed crown. Kambosos drops and defeats Teofimo Lopez in New York in his backyard for the disputed undisputed flyweight championship. Right? So of those right there, Calix, which one would you say is numero uno right there?
Usyk.
Usyk. Okay.
I thought he put on a great performance against Anthony Joshua, and how huge that fight was. And he was just unfazed by the crowd. But Kambosos against Teofimo is a close second. I mean, close second. Very close. He was a bigger underdog going into that fight. Another big fight for undisputed, non-undisputed, whatever you want to call it. But I got to go with Usyk. That was a masterclass performance against Anthony Joshua. And as far as fans at the fight, I think that was the biggest fight of the year. Maybe Canelo, 73,000 against Billy Joe Saunders. I don't know how many were
this
at.
This one's definitely more, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I go with Usyk.
All right. So hold on to that one. Then we got on the other pole, Shakur shuts out and stops Jamal Herring.
Mm-hmm.
Canelo breaks Billy Joe Saunders' eye socket. All right. That's another performance for Canelo. Oscar Valdez knocks out Berchelt. Virgil Ortiz dismantles Mean Machine. And Crawford, the first to stop Sean Porter.
Is this so? What poll is this? Is this for performance of the year part 2?
Yes.
Okay.
I can only do 5 for
Valdez versus Berchelt had me jump out of my seat. That's an argument for knockout of the year as well. Stevenson put on a great performance against Herring, but I wasn't really surprised by the performance.
Okay.
So I can't put that up there. What were the other ones?
Canelo, Billy Joe,
Mm-hmm.
Ortiz, Virgil Ortiz, Mean Machine, and Crawford, Sean Porter.
I got to go with, out of those, I got to go with Valdez.
Wow.
He was a huge, Valdez was a big underdog against Berchelt, and he just went in there and annihilated him.
So now here comes the $1 million question. So Valdez, Berchelt, or Usyk, Joshua?
Usyk, Joshua still.
Man. Okay.
Performance of the year from Usyk.
Well, we're going to see, man. We're going to see because the poll's up there. You know what I mean? It's up there. You know? Right now, Canelo's leading with a Billy Joe Saunders one. And Usyk is leading his, but it's pretty close, though. So Kambosos, Teofimo's up there, and so is Crawford, John Porter.
I'm looking forward to hearing how you had it out of those two tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to that.
For sure. Now, of course, and I want your opinion on this here.
Uh-huh.
So this one's easy. 2021 Fight of the Year. Canelo's dominating that poll. But it's not even close, to be honest. But Hispanic causing panic of the year, which people need to know, by the way, it's not a Fight of the Year award. Okay, for those it could help being a Fight of the Year, but it's I have Saul Canelo Alvarez because of his. I mean, he's been wreaking havoc with his English. He kicked out Andre from his dad, by the way, from his press conference. Right? He's calling everybody a motherfucker. Like, you know what I mean? He got in a scuffle. Canelo got in a scuffle pre-fight. Like, this is insane, bro. Like I never thought I would see this. Like, you know, like he's a bad boy all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Like I was waiting for Will Smith to pop out and be like, from now on, that's how we're gonna do it. You know what I mean? So we had that, and of course, you know what he did in the ring, what he accomplished in the ring, undisputed. And I think when I think of causing panic, I think about a public reception. He makes a lot of dudes skin crawl and like stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? He does. But then and then the other one is Mauricio Suleiman. You know, like I mean, this guy created a weight class whether we liked it or not. You know what I mean? Like, did this dude double down, triple down a franchise whether you like it or not? Too fucking bad. You know what I mean? He has constantly been pushing for making up his own rules, having his cake, eating it too. Use the sick kid, you know. And think about all the panic he's causing, all the confusion, all the like, and he doesn't give a shit, you know. So it is like the Sith side and the Jedi side were kind of, you know, here, but like Hispanic causing panic of the year. And we're going to find out tomorrow who's going to win this award.
It all depends on what we consider causing panic. If we consider that a good thing, if we consider it a good thing, it's Canelo. If we consider it a bad thing, we
panic is like all around. You know what I mean?
He created a division and named it after a kid that got attacked by a pit bull.
Panic. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's phenomenal.
Now there is a women's one too as well. So the women's 2021 Hispanic causing panic of the year. So the first one's Denise Estrada. Right? Now we know what she's done in the ring, and that helps, of course, but also just terrorizing Marlene Esparza still. You know what I mean? Like, she already beat her, but she's just wants to fight her in the parking lot. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then this last press conference told her, what the hell are you looking at? When Marlene was just like there, like, you know what I mean? And they're going back and forth a little bit, but she's causing some panic there. And then Amanda Serrano. Amanda's, causing some panic. You know what I mean?
She's causing some panic with
she's disfiguring faces, bro. Like she's these women don't look like the same woman after the fight. Like, if that's not panic, I don't know what is. You know,
she's making some good money too.
Yeah, and then she signed with Jake Paul. That made people like, you know what I mean? Panic. So I don't know. So those two, who do you got?
Canelo, I gotta go with Canelo because I'm gonna go with the good side of it.
Okay.
And I gotta go with Denise Estrada.
All right.
Because that night I was really, really impressed with her boxing ability and impressed that she offered to fight the girl in the parking lot that night. I like that. So I got to go with her. But Serrano's making some money. She's making some moves too. So I got a close second.
Okay. Makes sense. I could roll with that. Yeah. I could roll with that.
So we're going to see more of that tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Over on D-Styles channel. And we're going to wrap this thing up. So once again, go here to the community page, vote on these polls, and we're going to let you know tomorrow night who won. And on that note, another great show, D-Style. Thanks for being on. God bless y'all. And we are out. Keep it boxing, right, D-Style?
That's right. Keep it boxing. We're out of here.
Peace.